Last time the Sirens played the Frost, it was the home opener for Minnesota, and a banner raising took place. The Sirens won that game. So, what happened in round two of Sirens versus Frost? I should say. Let's talk about it right now on today's latest edition of PWHL Recap. And it begins now. Welcome to Sports for Beginners. This is the show where I cover the Pittsburgh Penguins, Toronto Blue Jays, and take you on a journey through the world of sports. From the fans' perspective, here is your host, Scott McGregor. Let's have some fun. Merry Christmas, everyone. Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah. Happy New Year, everyone. I know Happy New Year will have to wait a few days, but Happy New Year, everybody. And Merry Christmas to all that celebrate Christmas. I am Scott McGregor, and today we're taking a look back at round two between the New York Sirens and the Minnesota Frost, the defending champions, the Minnesota Frost. Coming off a 5-2 win on December the 19th and a 6-3 win over the Toronto Scepters on the Saturday they played on December 7th. They also played on December the 4th the Boston Fleet in Boston's home opener and defeated Boston there 2-1. They lost both times that they've played so far. They have lost. Well, actually, no, they only lost to New York once, and that was in overtime back on December the 1st. 4-3 the final in overtime. This time, overtime happened, but Minnesota wasn't going to go down without a fight. As always, we start off our PWHL recap as we welcome everyone in from wherever you may be tuning in at whatever time you may be tuning in. As always, we like to start our recaps with our matchup in goal. And before we get there, we like to start off with our head coaches. So let's jump to it, shall we? I think we shall. Let's get going. Greg Fargo, in his first season as head coach of the New York Sirens, formerly known as PWHL New York, in the inaugural season. I guess you could say for the New York Sirens, formerly known as PWHL New York, it's the inaugural season of the Sirens. But now we have named, and the head coach of the team formerly known as Minnesota, PWHL Minnesota, and head coach of your defending Walter Cup champion, Minnesota Frost. That's what they are called, the Minnesota Frost right now, is Ken K. Lee. In net, as we move on from head coaches to in net, the matchup in net. Kayla Osborne is backing up Abigail Levy. Abigail Levy, number 39, getting the start for the New York Sirens. Kayla Osborne, number 82, getting the backup duties in this one. For New York, I should say, against Minnesota. Minnesota's goaltending matchup on the other side, the backup was Nicole Hensley, number 29. She is backing up number 35, Maddie Rudney. Maddie Rudney. And just to double check here, was that our starters? Yes. Oh, no, sorry. Nicole Hensley was the starter. Maddie Rudney was the backup. So I have that a little bit backwards. And Kayla Osborne also was starting. So Abigail Levy backed up Kayla Osborne. Nicole Hensley was backed up by Maddie Rudney. So just to reiterate there, it was Kelly Osborne against Nicole Hensley at the home of the NHL's New Jersey Devils, who played the Pittsburgh Penguins on Saturday night. More on that and more on Penguin postgame in a little bit as we wrap up our program here. But this is part of a double trouble that will see a pregame show follow this game, which is called Before They Kick Off. And of course, the postgame show is for the Dolphins and the Bills. I will have you for the Bills game. Of course, if you're catching this show after the pregame show of Before They Kick Off, which is our Buffalo Bills pregame show, and you are a part of Bills Mafia, happy Victory Monday to you. The Buffalo Bills were able to defeat the New England Patriots by a final score of, just to get this out of the way here, 24-21. I'll talk about that more on Bills postgame. So stick around, Bills Mafia. Also want to wish a happy Victory Monday to our Dolphins fans. Now, the Dolphins fans still have their playoff hopes alive, but it comes down to the final 2 weeks here. Can the Dolphins somehow sneak in to the playoffs? We'll find out in these next 2 weeks. But as I said on the pregame show, for final thoughts, when we heard from Sean McDermott and Steve Tasker, they are off for this week against the Jets. So everyone could be with family and for the holidays. And why not? And then, of course, they will be back with another episode of the Sean McDermott Show next week, following the week of Jets and Bills, which is this upcoming Sunday after Christmas. And that will be to preview the finale of Patriots versus Bills. we will preview that as well, depending on what time the game is at. On the final edition this regular season of Jets versus Bills on Bills postgame. All right, back to the women hockey side of things. Now we're going to take a quick break. But again, just to remember, just to tell you, I should say, this game was played in our venue of choice. It was played at the home of the NHL's New Jersey Devils in the Prudential Center, your home of the New York Sirens for this game, for this year. All right. I'm going to leave you with what time the game started at, but we'll do that down the road. Coming up next when we continue, how did this game go down? Did it need overtime? Did it need a shootout? We're going to find out all those answers in the next two segments. And following the wrap up of the game breakdown, we will get into our stars of the game, the remainder of the game stats, minus the shots on goal. So this includes power play and penalty kill. And of course, we will get into my play of the game. And of course, we've got the women's hockey player of the game, around which time, as we are preparing to send you off to the gridiron for the post-game shows of Bills, Patriots, and Dolphins, Niners. We will get into our main feature of the program, the women's hockey player of the game. As I said, coming up after this break, we break down this game at the Prudential Center and break up We break down this hockey game from the first period to the third period to overtime to shootout. We're going to find out if it needed a shootout, if it needed overtime, all coming up next when we continue. Stick with us.
Take another look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo, two powerful women of diverse backgrounds having genuine, unique, and uncomfortable conversations that everyone needs to have. Join Melanie and Gerda for conversations about what is missing from human connections.
Looking for conversations on books and more, as well as tutorials on using your favorite devices and applications? You've come to the right place. Join us weekly on Spicy Techie, where Ali and Sienna provide insightful conversations, as well as useful tips and tricks to help you along on your technological journey. To learn more, tune into the show and like the Spicy Techie Facebook page. Search for Spicy Techie.
Looking for a sports podcast that covers sports weekly as well as gets you set up for the day? Check out Weekly in Sports with me, Scott McGregor. We give some shout-outs of the week to podcasts like this one and those who do them. Discuss the Blue Jays, Bills, Raptors, and more. To learn more, check out the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners. You know, it feels like deja vu. 4-3 the night of the home opener for the defending Walter Cup champion Minnesota Frost. And that's in overtime in favor of the Sirens. And on Sunday, we end up 4-3 as well. Interesting. It's time to get down to business. So here we go with our game breakdown. As always, we'll begin in the first period, but no penalties were taken in the first period. The only thing that was done was goals, both scored by Minnesota Frost, and both scored by captain of the Minnesota Frost, Kendall Coyne Schofield. Her second of the season, assisted by Kelly Panek. Her third of the season, and Michelle Cava, her first of the season, at 5 minutes and 9 seconds. That was Kendall's first goal of the game. Which is her second of the season. Her second one came at 15 minutes and 42 seconds. And this time, she did it by herself. Her third goal of the game, unassisted. Minnesota up 2-0 after 20 minutes. Shots on goal in favor of the Frost. At 11-7. So the Frost have the lead here, 11-7. After 20 minutes. Sirens get on the board in the second period, but first, they take a penalty. Jesse Eldridge picking up a 2-minute minor for kneeing 36 seconds into the hockey game. Into the hockey game's second period, I should say. And Minnesota scores on that opportunity. A PPG for MIN. As Taylor Heisey picks up her first goal of the year. Yep, that's her first goal of the year. Claire Thompson picking up her sixth assist of the season. Grace Zumwinkle, her first of the season in terms of assists. At 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Power play goal for Minnesota. PPG for MIN. And Minnesota is on the board, up by 3 after taking a 2-0 lead into the break after the first 20 minutes. Time of the goal, again, 2 minutes and 15 seconds, makes it 3-0 Minnesota. Brooke Hobson says, not so fast. And just a couple minutes later, actually a couple seconds later, I should say, she puts the Sirens on the board and cuts into that 3-0 lead with her first assist of the season. Ella 8 picking up her first assist of the season as well. MNP is picking up her second assist of the season. Maja Nyland Person picking up her second assist of the season. And 2 minutes and 57 seconds in, we have a 3-1 score in favor of the Frost. But the Sirens weren't done there. 8 minutes and 59 seconds in, Elizabeth G, her first goal of the new season. Allison Simpson, her second assist of the season. Ella H, her second assist of the season, second of the game. And now Minnesota is holding on to a 1-goal lead. The rest of the period for the second period goes like this. J. Downey Landry picking up a 2-minute minor for hooking, 12 minutes and 32 seconds in. Sirens also see Micah Zandy Hart go 2 minutes for high sticking at 18 minutes and 28 seconds. Shots on goal for the game after the game. 16-15 in favor of the Frost. 11-8 after 40 minutes. Frost leading still in the shot total, 16-15. But the Sirens are keeping it close. Now, the third period is where the Sirens turned on the heat. They turned up the heat. Let's start with the penalties. Of course, it is known that Minnesota killed off both of these penalties. The first one to Minnesota's number 77, Britta C.S. 2 minutes for interference. At 10 seconds in to the third period, DK, Denisa Karazov, We're going to go with DK. If I pronounced it wrong, I apologize. But DK is going to get the penalty here. 2 minutes for roughing. 2 minutes and 51 seconds in. It took Alex Carpenter 8 minutes and 55 seconds to say, okay, Minnesota, you've had the lead for quite a while, and 2 periods to be honest. Now I'm going to even things up. And in doing so, she gets her 4th goal of the season. And she does it by herself, unassisted. Shots on goal after regulation, 16-7 in favor of the Sirens. Sirens also won the overtime period 5-1. And they would ultimately end up out shooting the Frost 36-25. But nothing going on in overtime after the Alex Carpenter game tire. So off to the shootout we go. No penalties in overtime, no goals in overtime. Off to the shootout we go. And we will get to that when we return to PWHL Recap. Stick with us. The Shootout Recap is coming up next. Plus, the remainder of the game stats, except for the shots on goal, which were 36-25 in favor of the Sirens. Plus, the game times puck drop is coming up. The officials, still to come, the women's hockey player of the game. The stars of the game coming up after the game stats and the shootout. And the play of the game will be coming your way before we get to the women's hockey player of the game. At which time, we prepare you for what is coming up in the PWHL after the Christmas holiday. And when our next PWHL recap will be, spoiler alert, we might have a New Year's Eve program for you. It's in a plan, but stick around. All that information still to come on this episode of PWHL Recap, so be sure to stick with us.
CNT Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down, nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on CNT Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on CNT Radio.
Take another look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo, two powerful women of diverse backgrounds having genuine, unique, and uncomfortable conversations that everyone needs to have. Join Melanie and Gerda for conversations about what is missing from human connections.
Dear hockey, dear hockey, dear hockey. Today I would like to share my love, my gratitude, and my appreciation. You have always been there for me and those who have come before me. Side by side, we have had so many emotional moments.
Now memories that are ingrained into my forever. You have helped me grow, learn, persevere. You have believed in me, supported me,
And elevated me.
my 24/7,
My 365,
and now my future.
and now my future.
And now my future.
I'm excited about what comes next. I know there will be unbelievable, unimaginable, and the unexplainable. But I promise to be strong, powerful, and be an ambassador of all your good. You have only ever given. And now it is my turn to give back. I am here to amplify.
I'm here to unify
I am here to exemplify.
dreams for every little girl across the globe.
Hockey is for everyone.
All my love, forever, always.
Catch Catherine Swift on Broadcast Map to talk with Ali about some very interesting conversations that will be going on in our episode of Broadcast Map, our 2024 programming finale of Broadcast Map for 2024. That ought to be a good interview with Catherine Swift. That ought to be a good one. I look forward to checking that out, as well as many that I may not have been able to check out. And there's a link in the show notes to go check out Ali's podcast in our description of the episode. With that being said, let's continue on here. We're in a 3-3 tie after 65 minutes and regulation, which is 60 minutes. So on to a shootout we go between Minnesota and New York. It's the first time this season we will see the Frost and Minnesota. I should say the Frost and the Sirens, because Minnesota is the Frost and the Sirens are New York. Go into a shootout. The first skater for the New York Sirens, we're going to go up by team. And the first skater for the New York Sirens was Nora Toulis. She gets the puck, I should say, by Nicole Hensley. And the Sirens take the early 1-0 lead in the shootout. First up for Minnesota is DK. That shot goes by Abigail Levy. Well, actually, no. It actually goes by Kaylee Osborne. Kaylee Osborne was in there for the shootout. She does stop a few of the Minnesota Frost, but she won't stop Grace Zumwinkle as Zumwinkle gets it by her. After a stop by Nicole Hensley on the rookie Sarah Fillier. And Michelle Cava is stopped by Abigail Levy. So no goal there. 2 goals already for Minnesota. Alex Carpenter, a goal in the game already in this game. This was the one that tied the game up at 3-3. Now she's got a chance to tie this up at 2-2 in the shootout. She shoots and gets it by Nicole Hensley. Next person up to shoot for Minnesota is Taylor Heisey. And she gets it by Kayla Osborne. Elizabeth G. and Abby Roque, if they don't score, it's game over. And they both, one at a time though, are stopped by Nicole Hensley. And look at this. Minnesota was defeated by the New York Sirens in their home opener in overtime, 4-3. This time the Sirens force overtime. That doesn't decide the game. We go to the shootout, and it's the Frost coming out with the game. The shootout game winner is off of the stick of a Minnesota Frost. And with that said, Minnesota wins the game 4-3 in the shootout, despite being outshot 36-25. Their power play goes 1-for-3. Penalty kill for the New York Sirens going 1-for-3 as well. Power play for the New York Sirens on Sunday, 0-for-2. They are unable to connect on the 2 opportunities they were given by Minnesota. Minnesota's penalty kill, perfect 2-for-2. Their power play 1-for-1, or 1-for-3, excuse me. And New York Sirens' penalty kill, 1-for-3 as well. They kill off, actually I should say 2-for-3. They kill off 2 penalties after giving up a goal on the power play to Minnesota. And those are your game stats of the game. Time now to get to your 3 stars of the game. But first, let's talk about our officials. And our officials for this game first of all, we had Krista Ansel, wearing the number 19 as one of your referees, along with Cindy Harris, wearing the number 46, PJ Dockery, and Adam Burnett, where they wore the number 70 and number 94. And those were our linesperson and referee officials for this Sunday matchup between the Sirens and the Frost. So the Frost do bounce back from that early season loss to the Sirens, 4-3 in overtime at the Xcel Energy Centre, winning 4-3 at the Prudential Center on Sunday. They will face Montreal for the first time this year, coming out of the Christmas break on Saturday. That's going to be a good one. between Captain Clutch Marie-Philippe Poulin and Kendall Coyne Schofield. That's going to be a good one that I am looking forward to recapping. Game time is at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Central Time. And with that being said, it is time now before we take this next break. And on this break, we will hear from Broadcast Map. It is time now to get into, before we take this break, that will lead us to our play of the game and the women's hockey player of the game, as well as the final moment of the program. We will hear from Broadcast Map after I run over our stars of the game, which are what we call the 3 stars of the game in the PWHL Recap. So here we go. Elizabeth G is your 3rd star, 1 goal, no assists on the game. Kendall Coyne Schofield, your 2nd star, 2 goals, no assists. And your 1st star is Nicole Hensley. Faced 36 shots, made 33 saves, and played a total of 65 minutes. I like these 3 stars, I really do. Though I probably would have put Alex Carpenter there, considering the fact that Alex tied the game up for New York in the clutch in the 3rd period. And of those 5 goals scored, Minnesota had 4 of them in the game. 5 goals total in the game. Sorry, 7 goals total in the game, I should say. Given our final was 4-3 in favor of the Frost. 4 of those 7 goals, I should say, belong to Minnesota. 3 of them belong to the Sirens of New York. And again, to reiterate, our 3 stars, Nicole Hensley, Kendall Coyne Schofield, and Elizabeth G. All right, we're back to wrap up in a little bit, but we're going to take a 30-second time out to hear a word from our friend Ali Musa and Broadcast Map. When we return, it's time for the play of the game, brought to you by, if you listen to the game on the Pittsburgh Penguins Hockey Network, if you listen to the Penguins game, Rivers Casino, Pittsburgh's entertainment destination. We are not sponsored by Rivers Casino. So our play of the game is coming up next. Plus, it's time for the women's hockey player of the game. When did this game start? What's the next PWHL recap? Is there a game coming on before we get to our next PWHL recap? And if so, what does it look like after the Christmas holidays? Who's playing? Find that all out when PWHL Recap returns.
Looking for conversations on the world of broadcasting, sports media, and from time to time, my favorite sports teams? Listen to Broadcast Map with me, Ali Musa. To learn more about the show and to view the upcoming schedule, like the Broadcast Map Facebook page. Search Broadcast Map.
Dear hockey, dear hockey, dear hockey. Today I would like to share my love, my gratitude, and my appreciation. You have always been there for me and those who have come before me. Side by side, we have had so many emotional moments.
Now memories that are ingrained into my forever. You have helped me grow, learn,
Persevere. You have believed in me, supported me, and elevated me. My 24/7, my 365,
and now my future.
and now my future. And now my future. I'm excited about what comes next. I know they will be unbelievable, unimaginable, and the unexplainable. But I promise to be strong, powerful, and be an ambassador of all your good. You have only ever given, and now it is my turn to give back. I am here to amplify.
I'm here to unify
I am here to exemplify.
dreams for every little girl across the globe.
Hockey is for everyone,
All my love,
forever.
always.
Welcome back to PWHL Recap 4-3, the final. The Frost defeat the Sirens 4-3 in the shootout after the Sirens a couple days ago on the 1st of December defeated the defending Walter Cup champions 4-3 in overtime. Quite the matchup we will have between New York and Minnesota. And it feels like New York and Minnesota, it's going to go either way. It's going to go either way. All right. Play of the game going to be coming up in just a little bit, as well as our women's hockey player of the game. That coming up in just a matter of moments. A few minutes time, rather. But while I prepare to get that ready for you, I'd like to let everyone know that our next recap will be on Saturday, December 28th, 2024. This will be our last PWHL recap for the 2024 year. It's not the last recap for the 2024-2025 season, but it is the last one for the year of 2024. At least for the Minnesota side of things, because we will be coming back with you to do an Ottawa Charge Toronto Scepters game on Tuesday, December 31st, 2024. That is New Year's Eve. And some New Year's Eve double trouble coming your way because of that reason. Well, you'll find that all out during our Flyers Penguins recap coming up a little later tonight. Most likely going to drop on Christmas Eve, if possible. And all of this content probably might drop your way on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. We shall see. But anywho, our next recap for Minnesota will be the Frost and the Victoire, I should say. But there is one game coming up before we get there. And that is the Boston Fleet in Toronto at the Coca-Cola Coliseum against the Toronto Scepters. So that is the Boston Fleet versus the Toronto Scepters at the Coca-Cola Coliseum on Friday night, December 27th, 2024. Our game recap will be an afternoon game between the Montreal Victoire and the Minnesota Frost. Game time is 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern. Our coverage will come your way ahead of round 1 of 2 in the home and home series between Pittsburgh and New York, the Islanders and the Penguins, which comes your way following the Philadelphia Flyer game tonight inside PPG Paints Arena. And then, of course, Minnesota is back Thursday and Saturday, January 2nd and January the 4th. We will have recaps of those games coming your way as quickly as we can. But bear with us as we go along. One game and one recap at a time. All right. Let's get quickly to the play of the game before I get to our meat and potato of our women's hockey player of the game. That's our player of the game segment. My play of the game is going to go to Elizabeth G. I really like that goal by Elizabeth G. of the New York Sirens. I really like the goal. But it kind of felt like Minnesota, it took their foot off the gas pedal in the second period, late in that second period. And Elizabeth was able to show that when she got the next goal. And remember, both teams had a period where they took penalties. Minnesota took 2 in the third. New York took 3 in that second period. So the goal by Elizabeth G is my player, is good enough for my play of the game. And again, for those listening to the game, to the Penguins hockey games on the radio network, those are brought to you by Rivers Casino, Pittsburgh's entertainment destination. 3 stars are brought to you by your neighborhood Ford stores. Ford cars, trucks, and SUVs are the official vehicles of the Pittsburgh Penguins. We are not sponsored by any of those, so we just bring them to you because our sponsorship stuff could be things down the road. But as for now, we'll just bring them right to you. All right. With that out of the way, it is time now for us to bring you the meat of this game. Our PWHL main feature of PWHL Recap. It's time to find out who are the lucky girls for this game recap that earned the Women's Hockey Player of the Night, or Player of the Game, rather. And that's what we're going to call it. We're just going to call it the Women's Hockey Player of the Game, even though our introduction says PWHL Women's Hockey Player of the Night. I'm going to throw it over to Thomas, and we'll get into it after the introduction. Enjoy.
It's time for tonight's Women's Hockey Player of the Game. Who had the best game tonight? Let's find out right now on the Sports for Beginners podcast.
All right, everybody, it is time for your Women's Hockey Player of the Game. And this is the point of the show where we are about to wrap things up. I'm feeling given, as we are in the giving season, and we are 2 days away from Christmas as we record this. By the time you listen to this, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day will have gone by. And before you know it, we'll be in Boxing Day and the day after Boxing Day. And back at it on that Saturday. So, very quickly, we're going to give away 2 Women's Hockey Player of the Game. And we're going to start with your defending Walter Cup champion, Minnesota Frost. Head coach by Ken K. Lee. And of course, our head coach of the New York Sirens is Greg Fargo. First up today, I should say. I gotta stop saying tonight when we're doing a day game thing. That's okay. We'll work it out. We're gonna go with Kendall Coyne Schofield. 3 shots on goal for Kendall, 2 of which went behind Abigail Levy or Kaylee Osborne. One of those goals either went by Kaylee Osborne or it went by Abigail Levy. In any case, she gets 3 shots on goal, no assists, no penalty minutes. Was a +1. Registered 1 hit in the game. And it does look like the hits were heavily favoring the New York Sirens. Next up, for Minnesota's recipient of a Women's Hockey Player of the Game. How about the performance by goaltender Nicole Hensley? Through 65 minutes, yes, she gave up 3 goals. And yes, they were all at even strength because she was not able to give up a goal on the power play. But, I mean, $33 saves on 36 shots. I can understand now why she was given that first star of the game in the 3 stars of the game. So we're going to go with Nicole Hensley and Kendall Coyne Schofield for Minnesota as our recipients. Our recipients for the Sirens. First, I'm going to go to one of the goaltenders in Kaylee Osborne. Gave up 1 goal during the regulation time period in 45 minutes of ice time played. I think Abigail Levy was either pulled for some reason. She might have been hurt, but I don't know exactly what happened. She did, however, Kaylee Osborne did, however, make 18 saves on 19 shots. Abigail Levy made 3 saves, I should say, on 5 shots. That's not good. Like, it's not great, but I will take it. So we're going to go with Haley Osborne as one of our recipients for the Women's Hockey Player of the Game for New York. And how about the performance by Allison Simpson? 4 shots on goal for her. 1 assist in the game. No goals. No penalty minutes. Was a -1. Also, speaking of 4 shots on goal, she had 4 hits in the game. Alex Carpenter stomping for third there with 24 face-off opportunities and 17 wins out of the 24 face-offs that she was in. And speaking of that, Taylor Heisey, 5 out of 17 in the face-off circle. Not too bad. But our recipients are Nicole Hensley and Kendall Coyne Schofield for Minnesota Frost. And for the New York Sirens, Kaylee Osborne is one of our recipients. And our second recipient is Allison Simpson. I really like how all 4 of these women, two aside, like as I said, I really like how all 4 of these women played in this game. All in all, Minnesota wins the game 4-3. Their winning streak continues to grow, coming off of victories against Ottawa 5-2 on Thursday, 6-3 over the Scepters last Saturday. The Saturday before an international break. They also picked up a 2-1 W over Boston on December the 4th. So they've won 1, 2, 3, and now 4 games. They've lost only 1 game this season and picked up 4 victories as of late. An overtime win, 3 wins in total. Haven't lost a game yet, only lost once in overtime. And they currently sit atop the standing with 25 games remaining. Same for the Sirens, who are right behind them. Montreal and Boston, 26 games remaining. 4 games played for them. 4 points for the Ottawa Charge and Toronto Scepters. They still have 25 games to go, played 5 games. Boston and Montreal have played 4 games and have 26 games remaining. Montreal has 7 points. Boston has 6. New York has 9 points. Minnesota has 12. Alrighty, that's going to just about do it for this episode of PWHL Recap. But before we go, a reminder to the Bills fans that I will have Bills postgame coming up for you following Dolphins postgame between the Miami Dolphins and the San Francisco 49ers. That was quite a game, I gotta say. It was quite a game. And speaking of quite a game, the Bills also had quite a game, winning once again the final score of Bills-Patriots round 1, 24-21 in favor of the Bills. And of course, we will break that down for you on Bills postgame, coming up in just a couple of moments' time. I also have you later for Penguins and Flyers coverage getting started, if we can get it done before Christmas Eve. Coverage getting started right after the final whistle. So be sure to check us out there. For the Battle of Pennsylvania, that's going to be a good one, and I can't wait to bring it to you. As mentioned, our next PWHL recap and final of 2024-2025 for our Minnesota coverage is the Montreal Victoire taking on the defending Walter Cup champion Minnesota Frost. Game time 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central Time. Our coverage getting set up right after the final whistle of that game, before we get ready to send you off to Penguins postgame, Penguins and Islanders, but one game at a time. After this coverage of Minnesota versus Montreal, we will talk about our break from Minnesota hockey and talk about a little New Year's Eve gift as we do the Battle of Ontario, Ottawa versus Toronto. That's going to be a good one on New Year's Eve. Game time for that one, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. All right. The Frost win it 4-3 in a shootout on Sunday, December 22nd, 2024. The last one of our Minnesota coverage for 2024-2025 in the 2024 year is Saturday, December 28th, 2024, when the Victoire take on the Frost. Looking forward to that. Until then, PWHL fans, my name is Scott McGregor. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Would love it if you took a second to rate, review, and share the podcast. Have a great rest of your day. Hockey is indeed for everyone. Merry Christmas. And I will talk to you all after Christmas. For Frost and Victoire, looking forward to that. Stay strong, everyone. Merry Christmas to all. And I wish you all a blessed New Year. We will catch you on the flip side of Christmas for the Frost and the Victoire. Should be a good one. See you then. My name is Scott McGregor, and we will see you next time on PWHL Recap. Thank you so much for listening to Sports for Beginners. If you would like to learn more about the show, you can visit the podcast Facebook page or visit the official website. You can also send us an email at sportsforbeginnerspodcast8231@gmail.com. As we always remind you, it is not goodbye, it is until next time.